Hi, welcome to Infusion Health, the podcast. I'm comedian Cris Patrick, a.k.a. self-proclaimed Power Man. And I'm here with my co-host and significant other, Rach.
Hey, guys.
Now, today we're talking with Tara Bushaw about, she's a freelance helper. If you're going through these times, through these critical times, you know, family sick or something like that, you give her a call and she can help you with your as far as freelancing and helping you get through these times. And she's going to tell a little bit more of what she does and how she can help. Tara, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
So, you help people with going through critical times, like how?
Yeah, so basically when my son was in the hospital several years ago, I saw lots of parents not able to be there and only being able to come on the weekends because they were having, tough time with work and facing losing their job. And so I decided that I was going to take the knowledge that I had and help them work from home or work from a hospital room. They do that in several different capacities, but my heart is with freelancing and taking skills that they already have and being able to create an income from that is really one of the best ways for flexibility and freedom versus a typical 9-to-5 job. So
tell me
what I try to help.
Sorry. So tell me a little bit about your background. How did you land into this and why did you land into this?
So back when I was pregnant with my third child, I have 8 of them, but when I was pregnant with my third child, I just kind of knew that I didn't want to stay in the 9-to-5, or basically that I wasn't going to be able to, because the 3 kids in daycare just didn't pay to do that. So for me, when I decided that I was going to quit my job, freelancing kind of fell in my lap. So I had been a medical rec. Oh, go ahead.
What job were you working at the time?
So I was working in a mental health clinic, and I was doing medical. I was a medical records clerk and a transcriptionist. So I would do the transcription there. Uh-huh. And as I was going to leave my job, the other person that did transcription also had quit, and she was moving into another job, and my boss knew that I was just going to be staying home. Mm-hmm. And so they actually asked me if I could continue to do work for them, but at home and on my own schedule. And of course I said yes. And so I was doing work with them. And then the doctor at the facility was moving on. He was moving out of town and was going to start his own practice. And he approached me and he said, "Hey, I heard you're helping them with some, typing some reports for them. Like, I'm going to need somebody. I'm starting a new practice. I don't know anybody in this new town. Would you be willing to help me out?" Mm-hmm. And of course I said yes. And so even till at that point, I didn't realize that I was freelancing per se, because it just felt like I had just transitioned from my job over to, just kind of working for them independently. I didn't really realize what I was doing. And then it just kept growing from there. I happened to be at a doctor appointment with my daughter, and we were going through our family history and what my husband and I did at the time. And I said, I'm a medical transcriptionist. And he stopped and he's like, "Really?" He's like, "I need one. And I have no idea where to look." He's like, "Do you have the capacity to help me out?" And I'm like, "Well, probably, sure. We can chat about it." Yeah. And by that afternoon, he was my client. And so, and then he had a colleague that he referred me to that needed help. And before I knew it, I had this whole full-fledged business from home. And that was really a turning point for me to realize that I had this skill and all these people needed help. And I was able to tap into that and grow it from there. So that was 21 years ago. And I'm still doing it today. So.
And falling into that, because one of the things I'd like to talk about, you fell into this and you got your home-based business and all that, and you're doing pretty good. But somebody who wants to, I just had a kid, I just had my second child, I really can't do the 9-to-5 thing. I really can't do the 20 hours a week thing. I like to work from home. I like to go into business for myself, but working a job, I got these benefits. I got my medical and dental and all that. How do you get around that as far as benefits and all that, being self-employed?
So I think a lot of people think that The only place to get these types of benefits like paid time off and, like you say, the medical and the dental is through a job. But a lot of people underestimate the fact that you can go and purchase your own health insurance through, the marketplace, or go to an independent insurance agent. And a lot of times you can get a decent plan on your own, and sometimes even cheaper than what you are paying for it through your employer. I mean, of course, if an employer is providing it, 100% free of charge, well, that's not going to happen, but that's pretty rare nowadays. But so that is one thing that a person can do, is go and secure it on your own. As far as like taking time off, like paid leave, sick leave, things like that, like you don't need that because you build it into your business. So a lot of people will ask me the same thing, like, well, how do you take a vacation? It's like, well, because I have the flexibility to work when I want and how I want. Like, I can cram in all the work the week before that I need to take time off. Or in my case, like, I love what I do. So, like, I don't feel like I need a vacation from it. So when my son was in the hospital, like, I just took my computer with me. And generally I have, usually 2 days to turn around any work that I get. And so it's like, okay, well, I can go all day, go do my thing. And then at night when the kids are sleeping, I can sit down and get the work done and submit it at 1, 2 a.m. if I want.
So you also help families that, not necessarily having 2 kids and can't afford childcare, but families that have children in the hospital or family member that they need to be with in this freelance work.
Yeah, so pretty much anybody. So it does even include those that can't afford daycare. It's pretty much anybody that wants this can do it. I think a lot of people underestimate the skills that they currently have. And I know I get that a lot. Like, people say, well, I don't have skills because I'm, I've only been a stay-at-home mom, or I'm just a secretary, or I'm just a teacher. But a lot of times we associate ourselves with our job title versus things that we're actually doing within our actual job. So, I mean, if a person like actually sits down and thinks about all of the things that you're actually doing at your 9 to 5, you're doing more than just your title. And so there's a lot of these things that a person can take and go and freelance in some capacity with online businesses. So right now in 2022, there are tons of people, thousands of people online building businesses, and all of those people aren't in a capacity where they can hire somebody full time, both because they're just starting out, or also because they just need somebody to do a specific thing for them, specific project, a one-off project. And so there's all of these people out there who are looking for help in some capacity. So this could be graphic design, this could be transcription, this could be running Facebook ads or YouTube ads, or it could be helping promote them on Pinterest. There's actual people that are Pinterest managers, which I know some people think is just crazy, but there's all of these different things that people can tap into.
Right.
And when you do it in such a capacity where you are freelancing and you're not tied to a 9 to 5 and you're able to work whenever, it allows you to work in the hospital, right? Because you aren't dedicated to being logged in to your portal, or, nobody's checking up on you and micromanaging you.
Right.
So it's something that you're able to do from a hospital room so that, you can be next to your kids, or so that you can work at home with your kids. It's just an amazing thing to be able to tap into. And I tell all the people that kind of come into my world, it's like, okay, if I could do this 21 years ago, before the internet was like a big thing,
right,
before social media was a thing, like, people can tap into the power of utilizing the online platforms. Like, it's amazing.
So where does it start? Like, okay, like I said before, I just had my second kid. I don't want to work a regular job. I'm going to go into business for myself. I don't know where to go. I've mostly worked. I've managed fast food most of my life. I don't know much about the internet and most about websites and all that. What exactly do I do, or how do I go about starting my own business and working from home?
So I think tapping into the right network. So, like, that's what, I've created a Facebook group. I know there's lots of people out there who, are teaching something similar. Going and finding the right communities where other people are doing the same thing. So you can kind of watch from afar and start to kind of learn the process of what's going on. It could be something as simple, if you don't even know your way around the internet, it could be something as simple as finding a local lawn mowing company who just popped up and maybe they need somebody to help with their invoicing. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's a new plumber that started in town and they really want somebody that can do their appointment scheduling for them. Mm-hmm. There's lots of opportunities, both offline and online. Of course, I find personally that working online and working with, business owners from all over the world, it's easier to be able to make more money, I guess you could say, like with being able to tap into, because it's a bigger market, right? Yeah, versus your local community. But it is possible within the local community. And some people who that want to do this type of thing, like maybe they just need enough to help pay for groceries or a couple tanks of gas with this world of inflation right now. Right. And so if that's the case, like, maybe you just find one client where you do their invoicing for them, or if you're a bookkeeper, being able to do their bookkeeping for a couple $100 a month. Like there's so many different capacities in which a person can think outside the box to be able to do this. And I think that's just important for people to realize you can do it online or offline.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
What if you've never done bookkeeping before or done anything like that before?
Well, if you're a manager at a McDonald's, I would say you have to do some type of bookkeeping because you need to crunch the numbers and you need to make the schedule. And you're not alluded to, no paperwork at all.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying if you were like just a basic McDonald's employee, you've never done bookkeeping, what would you,
Well, so you wouldn't want to, if you've never done bookkeeping before, then you probably wouldn't want to go dive into bookkeeping. So there's lots of, you can go and learn just about anything online. You can go learn and be a bookkeeper. You can go learn to do Facebook ads. You can go learn to do anything. But one of the biggest things that I tell people is that you really don't want to simultaneously start freelancing or start your own business while also tapping into something that you've never done, because your confidence is going to be really low. And so you want to tap into something that you've done before. So let's say you are a McDonald's manager. Obviously, you've done scheduling, right? Yeah. You're probably scheduling your employees. You're probably doing some paperwork. You're probably having to submit paperwork to corporate. You're probably having to do these types of things. Mm-hmm. Maybe even some, submitting ads, advertising to local, radio stations, things like that. You've done some administrative work. Mm-hmm. So basically then in those types of instances, I would recommend for people to tap into that. Like, who can you help with some of their administrative paperwork? How can you help just take some of those menial tasks off of local business owners? Another one is social media management. A lot of people don't realize that business owners hire for social media managers. So like, let's say you're somebody that really, really needs to bring in some income and you love TikTok, you love Facebook, things like that. Maybe you don't have any experience with like administrative stuff. Well, maybe you can go to your local restaurant and be like, hey, I noticed that your Facebook page is like deserted. How would that help you bring in some new people to your restaurant? You come in and you take over their social media. Mm-hmm. So it can definitely be, there's something out there for everyone, even the people who don't think that they have any valuable skills. Like, you can start with just even the most, basic skill, something that you're good at just personally. Like I said, with social media, there's so many people out there that like dive into TikTok because they like doing the whole video thing, or they love doing that. And like, there's so many business owners right now who are tapping into TikTok because they're using that to bring in followers into their business. And so there's so many things that people can do. Like, how many moms, even just a few years ago, were like, oh, we heard Pinterest was all the rave, right? Like, oh, I love Pinterest and I love pinning and I love going and doing these things. Well, there's business owners out there who are trying to tap into the Pinterest world because they know that that's where people are in there looking for stuff. So especially bloggers, like, bloggers are in there trying to create all these pins and trying to bring traffic to themselves. And so like, if you're a mom who's got kids and like, you could live on Pinterest and all there is to know about it, like, you can tap into that and turn that into your business. So I highly recommend that if a person's going to do this, that they tap into the things that already interest them, even if it's something that they never imagined doing before. So just as an example, I have one of the people that have come into my world. She came to me and she's like, no, I really want to start a different business. Like, I'm a hairstylist. This is all I've ever known, but like, I want something different. I'm like, all right. And I sat with her and we figured out her skills. And she's like, I love to tell stories. Like, I'm super sarcastic, but I could never get paid for that. And I'm like, oh, I wouldn't be so sure. Then she started to tell me like, oh, I really like writing. And so I was like, well, what about being a copywriter? Like actually helping business owners bring people to their business through your stories.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly what she did. So now she writes blog posts and she does things like that for business owners. She just got hired to write a Facebook ad for a business owner. And so we definitely can tap into things that are already inside of us and monetize them.
I know for myself, I was just recently reached out to and by a company that talks about if you don't want to fill in your description line on your podcast, we can actually listen to your episode and we can take, do that up for you. I know a lot of YouTubers are starting to do that in their description lines. And then you yourself, Cris, we're talking about voiceover work.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
yeah, there's lots of people that are doing that type of thing too. We're reading ebooks. A lot of business owners are doing ebooks, and so they'll hire people to read their ebooks for them, to do their podcast intros and their outros, like you name it. Like there's definitely a market for that as well. Things people don't think about.
Well, one of the things that happened to me last year was I really can't go into depth of what happened, but basically, let's just say I was put on leave from my job. I'm not going to go into why, but anyways,
he was found innocent.
Yeah. But basically, I was watching TV one day. I was off, and I was just sitting around watching TV all day. I didn't have to go into work, so I'm watching TV, and I'm watching this show. It was called Undercover Billionaire, season 2, and I'm watching. I said, "Well, what could be my business?" And all of a sudden, I went, "Hey, I do the strudel thing," and all of a sudden I went full tilt on that, and I just went, hey, and my thinking was, if this ever happens to me again, I'm gonna have my own thing to where if it does happen to me, I won't be like, dependent on the job or whatever. I'm still working at the job today, but I'm also working on this business, going full tilt in this business. And one of the things you said is that going around and talking to business and stuff like that, because a lot of people, and I've seen people like with the multi-level marketing thing. Oh, I'm going to be rich. I'm going to do this, but they don't do the legwork. And this is the thing. You got to do the legwork. You got to hop in your car, hop on your bike or whatever. And you got to walk and you got to knock on these doors and say, hey, I could do this for you. I could do this for you. And you're going to hear some no's, but out of all those no's, you may get that one yes. And that one yes may be the thing to take you to the next level, but you got to do the legwork and you got to be able to face the no's, the rejection.
Hey guys, we'll be right back. Sit tight.
Hi, this is Ross, the host of Smells Like Humans, a show about interesting and quirky human behavior. We bring humor, empathy, and warmth to topics such as relationships, dating, work, self-compassion, weddings, phobias, aging parents, travel mishaps, death, and many more. Ever wonder what happens at a cuddle party? We talk about it. Free-range kids in restaurants? We've got some thoughts. Bedtime stories for adults? We're on it. Light, fun, unscripted conversation and personal stories. Please join us by clicking the link in the show notes.
Right. And I like that you put it that way too, because I think a lot of people think that that's the most daunting part, but it's like how many job applications does a person put in, over their lifetime, and how many interviews have they gone on and been told no?
Yeah.
And people I hear all the time, like, well, I can't sell myself. Okay, but if you're applying for jobs, you're selling yourself.
Yeah.
And in most cases, you don't have to sell yourself that hard if you're providing a service that the company needs. And
Absolutely.
That's the thing, is that you aren't going around like with MLM or these the network marketing, is that you're trying to convince people that they need a product that they hadn't even heard of before. When you go to talk to a business, if they need some help with invoicing, they already know that they have that problem.
Right.
And so if you're coming along and you're able to solve that problem for them, they're going to welcome it. Just like when I was at my daughter's doctor appointment, like he knew he needed a transcriptionist, and all I had to do was say, I'm a transcriptionist.
Right.
And I was talking his language. Like I didn't even have to try to market myself. So a lot of times it's even just talking and having conversations. And I mean, with my ghostwriting business, I think I had like 1 or 2 clients that I got on my own through posting on my personal Facebook page, and the rest of them were all from referrals of people that knew what I did. And that's really, I mean, you think about like, and I like to use this example, but like think of any hairstylist or any construction, like a carpenter, for instance. I'm guessing that if you've got somebody that you really, really like you're telling all your friends, like, oh my gosh, this guy just like redid my roof, like, and he did such a good job and he did it so quick and was so professional. My hairstylist, like, oh man, nobody could ever do my hair like that. Like you're telling your friends about it. And I can guarantee the business owners are doing the same thing.
And that's the thing. And that's the thing too, is, you know, like you said, you know, it is getting that one yes, but that word of mouth and stuff like that, and doing a good job and providing a good quality service is going to get you more, you know, more clients and more work down the line.
Exactly. And the nice part about this, and this is one of the things that I teach, is a lot of people look at like financial stability being like they have a lot of money in the bank and you know, they have like this great job or whatever. But to me, financial stability means that you figured out how to make money.
Yeah.
And when you can freelance and when you realize that you can take your skills and you can go out and you can get clients, like the minute you figure that out, you are never, ever beholden to another job again, because you now have figured out how to tap into the market where you can create endless income. And that is a huge, huge thing for some people to be able to do. And especially like you said, when you get all of a sudden get laid off and sometimes unexpected, it can be a huge thing. And then all of a sudden you can't find another job for whatever reason. And I mean, I've heard people all the time say, I've been on a job search for 6 months, 8 months, a year. No one will hire me. I'm overqualified. I'm this, I'm that. Well, guess what? You don't have to go through that process anymore if you've figured out how to tap into this. Because if you can figure out how to solve a problem for a business, like there's always going to be work.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing too, because I just want the listeners out there to listen. I just hope the listeners out there want the listeners to know that this is that if you want to do this, remember, it's a marathon, not a sprint, because I do not want the listeners out there listening to this going, you know what? Tomorrow, Monday, I'm going to quit my job. I'm going to go. No.
Right.
Don't do that.
Right.
You gotta work. This is something you could probably do on the weekends slowly. Then when you start to get your client base up and it starts to move, you know, and also too, there's legal things as far as filing an LLC. So now you have a business and now you can write off. If you're freelance, right, and you got to go see clients, you can write off your gas and stuff like that you're doing on the weekends. But it's a slow process. Don't just go and say, hey, I listened to this podcast and I quit my job. No.
Well, not only that, for the family members that are taking care of somebody in the hospital, they don't want they don't want a new job just to take them, even if it's on their computer, all their time away. They want that slow, gradual process.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And I think that too is that I really like to try to express to people that like, you're not in the market of replacing your job. Like freelancing is not meant to replace your job in terms of hours. Like you aren't meant to go and work 40 hours a week in your business. Like your goal of being a business owner is going to be able to create freedom and flexibility so that you can, you know, replace your job in half the time that it takes, and so that you can have that freedom to be able to work alongside, you know, the hospital bed. And I think that's something that is important to reiterate, because a lot of people think, right, like what you said about like, oh, I'm going to go quit my job and I'm going to do this instead. Like freelancing, you can do in such a way where you just like go get one client and you can do it slowly in the evenings or, you know, when you're not working. And because you're not beholden to the hourly mindset, because you're, you know, I help people like understand that it's better to do a project or retainer base versus hourly, right? Mm-hmm. And so if you get out of that hourly mindset, then you're not beholden to doing 3 hours at night. Like you can do it whatever your contract states that you're going to complete that work. So it's something that can be built in the evenings, on the weekends, alongside your 9 to 5 until you get to a point where you're able to quit. And I think, you know, I love that you pointed that out, because that is so true. But I will say that out of all other business models that are out there, I would say that freelancing, I always tell like my audience that freelancing is your fastest path to cash, or your fastest path to replacing your income over anything else, because you can literally take a skill that you have right now and go post on your Facebook page that like you are a bookkeeper and you want to help 3 businesses today with their bookkeeping, and you're probably going to get a response from at least somebody or somebody that knows somebody.
Right.
And that is really like the best way to be able to do that, especially if you tap into your community.
And the thing is too, is that, and you may want to talk to your accountant. I got my accountant on speed dial, but basically when you start to do this and you start to make money, there are things you can write off. You can write off in your taxes for this. And the best thing to do is to call your accountant and say, hey, I'm doing this freelance work, that I'm bringing in this extra money, but to get this client, I got to drive 25 miles, 50 miles round trip. I got to drive 25 miles to see him, 25 miles to come back. And you may be able to write off that, to write off your gas, to write off some of the stuff you have, like computers and stuff like that, But again, talk to your accountant, and you may, hey, I'm making so much money at this, I need to turn this into a business. So I need to file an LLC so I can use this as far as taxes go.
Right. And there are some instances too where obviously, like if you are working strictly from home, where you aren't driving to your clients, because I want to reiterate that, because some people may be like, well, I don't want to drive. They're myself personally, like I work strictly from home, and so I'm able to deduct a portion of my utilities to be able to cover my business. And I think that's something that's important to note as well. As a lot of times people think, well, how does a person, make money doing this or whatever? Well, a lot of it is, if you're an employee, you're getting your taxes taken out, you're getting your check, and then you have to pay all your bills. Well, with freelancing, because you get to deduct it, now it's like you're paying your bills, but you get to deduct a part of that. And so you're not going to be charged tax on that portion of income because you're able to write it off. And so some of these bills you were paying already end up being, really great thing for your business. And so that's just something to, talk about too. Portion of your utilities, and a portion of your, like you said, the computers, the printers, all of that stuff that you would normally buy anyway. So
yeah, and also too, like I said, you may want to talk to your accountant, because somebody may go, well, hey, I'm a painter. Somebody hired me to paint his kitchen. I charge him $200. I better file an LLC. Well, wait a minute. How much money are you making? Are you making $2,000 a month doing this extra work? Are you making $4,000 a month doing this? Then when you start to get into that, then maybe it's probably a good time to talk to your accountant about turning this into a side business.
Right. And just for that as well, that's something too, like that I tell my students or whatever. It really depends on what your business is. Like, especially if you're going into someone's home and you're painting and you could be ruining something, or you could get hurt. Like, you most definitely want to see an actual legal business. If you're, doing some transcription work, you're probably okay to just work as a sole proprietor. So sometimes it doesn't have to be that big of a deal, but definitely, like you said, talk to an accountant, talk to the right people to make sure that, your business model should be covered in terms of a business. And I think it's also different between states as well. I think there's some states that do require you to have a legal business if you're going to be working on something like that. Some states, I think, allow you to be sole proprietor. So yeah, definitely talk with the accountant to see what the rules are in the state.
And like I said, somebody gave you $200 to paint their kitchen. That's not enough to file an LLC, but it starts to getting a little bit more money, and like, hey, I'm making a lot more money. I got to buy the supplies. I got to do this. I got to do that. Well, then you should start looking at turning this into a business. And that's what Tara's here for. You could probably get a hold of Tara, and she could probably steer you the right way.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, I want to thank you, hon, for coming on.
Well, I appreciate you having me.
And is there, if somebody wants to get out there and you want to be a freelancer in something you do or anything you do, and you need some guidance, Tara, is there a website or something somebody could go to?
Yeah, they can see everything that we offer at theworkfromhomerevolution.com. There's everything that we do, the Facebook group that I have. There's everything that you need to learn about it is there. We also share remote jobs for those people who aren't interested in freelancing and just need that job. So, I really just dove into the whole work from home information for people that need it.
Okay, and that would be in the Rachel will have
show notes. Absolutely,
show notes.
Another place where people can go build some money in show notes.
Show notes.
Totally,
Yes.
It's like for real. I actually, one of my business partners, she does that for people, so it is definitely a thing.
Yep, it is. And I want to thank you guys for listening. And if you appreciate what you liked, please subscribe, tell others. And, history is born on lines of hate. And here we're trying to make you your best advocate. And even when it's trying to build just a little bit more cash. Have a great one.
Take it easy.